first two pictures are showing kind of what children are often involved in without intervention, that they're child laborers, they're picking through garbage to sell. Sometimes they work late and they don't go to school. So the team, they've started a school in a neighborhood, a village where there was no school at all. Nobody could go to school in there because they didn't have the right papers. So they've started a preschool and kindergarten for the littlest ones so that the older ones can go to school.
And we would speak that to him, Lord, and that you would move him, Lord. And
yes, Jesus.
I just thank you that this is the time and the place you've chosen for our team to be, God. And Lord, I ask that when the times get hard, they wouldn't give up, Father. And Lord, we do pray for prevention, Father, that the enemy would be held back. And Lord, I just think of this young girl who's desperate to learn, Father, and desperate to have an education. Lord, would you release her? Would you make it possible?
It was really neat. It was really neat to see how their love for a Chinese baby, which really shocked them because they were Turks and they just didn't know why they had this love for this baby, was, bringing them. And evangelism was fun because we had the Jesus film in every language of the region. There was 13 languages. And people had to knock on our door and go through the watchmen out front. So we would look out the balcony and would see the dopa, and it's like, oh, they're Mongols. Put in the Mongol Jesus film. And they'd come up to hold the baby, and we'd plop Dennis in their lap, and we were just about to watch a movie, When Dennis died, I guess our hearts broke, of course. A year later, we prayed about having another baby and asked Joseph and Teresa, our older two, they were 8 and 6 at the time, and said, you ready if we go have another baby? And they're like, yeah, okay, I think so. Because they really loved Dennis too. And so we got pregnant and we're going to have twins.
Wow.
And we were leaving anyway. We were leaving in about 4 months, and I'm really glad we did, because by the end people were like, oh, the Muslims had an answer. They're like, God's giving you two because you took care of Dennis, and then the Buddhists were like, one of them is Dennis. Time to go home. This picture we have in the But the Christians really didn't know what to say. It was like everyone had an answer, but the Christians were kind of like, God is good. That's all we can say. So.
Never, ever, ever did I want to be a missionary. And then I went into college with some, college courses. But then when I got there, I had some health issues and a car accident, and so even the starting off, what seemed so burdensome for me, the Lord was calling me into Himself, and He was trying to get me to depend on Him.
Yes.
And I wasn't really down with it at the time, and so kept fighting Him on it, and finally He just took me to a place, because He loved me so much, to break me, where I was completely reliant on Him. And so by my junior year of college, I was finally ready to hear what God wanted to do with my life, because all my friends had their majors. They all had declared a major, and I got so sick of hearing the question, what are you going to major in? Because I didn't know, and I didn't want to pick one just to pick one, I was just so frustrated with the Lord, and He so allowed me to be, which is so sweet. He allows us, He just wants us, and He wants all of us. And so we had this guest missionary speaker, and he preached, and it was really good, but I was just like, okay, cool. And then he said, if anybody wants prayer, then come forward. Oh, I don't even want to be up here, but so it was so funny. This kind man, he's so sweet. I've apologized to him now. He was like, what can I pray for you? And I was like, I don't know, you tell me. Because I was so determined that I wanted to do what God wanted me to do, and I felt like I would be cheating if I was like, oh, pray over me and tell me, So he said the name Jesus for like 5 minutes, and I was just like, yes, okay. Because we have this plan, and the Lord's trying to always slow us down, and we're like, come on, Lord, And so he just began to pray, and the Lord began to break me, and he said, I feel like the Lord wants to use you, and I was thinking, okay. And then he said, I feel like the Lord wants to use you in the nations. And he said, I feel like God is calling you to missions. Oh! But it was so interesting what the Lord did. As he began to pray, I did begin to break. And he just really prayed over me, and he just said, it was so funny, it was like he was reading my heart. He said, but I feel like God wants to use you in a different way than maybe, you would think missions is, or he wants to use your gifts for the mission field. And when I left that day, I had so much peace about being a missionary. Like, my life is this constant walking with the Lord where He knows I need to stay by His side, and so He doesn't give me a 5-year plan because I just don't.
He is the plan.
He is the plan. I don't think I'd go to Jesus on a consistent basis, and so that was a work in itself. And secretly share Jesus, and even the countries that we're in, that we're sharing Jesus, not a lot of the governments are excited about us, and so it's so encouraging to them to get a team of people for 2 months who love the Lord and say, "Put me to work. I'm here to serve you." And so then they like you too. And you work together. And it's like so incredible to live with these missionaries because they don't even try. Like, mission seems like such this, holy thing. And then you get over there and you're like, this is real life.
Yeah.
Like, you have to cook every day and you have to help hurting people and you get frustrated sometimes and you don't really like each other all the time, and this thing called life, how does it go? And watching them handle it with grace and mercy and honesty is so beautiful. And so we get to live in that for 2 months, and we get to work with the kids. We went to help at the school. There were a whole staff of Sudanese teachers, and we were going to go for 2 months to work. So we get there, things are great, we meet the kids. And then our WEC missionary comes to us, and she said, "I have some bad news." We said, "Okay." She said, all of the Sudanese teachers have gone on strike. So you're going to be responsible this summer for 500 Sudanese kids.
Whoa.
We were like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Like, we've been here 2 weeks. No, we're not. And she said, "I don't know what else to do."
How
like,
many
this
of
is
you
why God said there were 5 of us.
505.
I was just like, no, there's no way. We don't speak the language. Like, no. And so I said, okay, all I know to do is take it to the team and we'll pray.
You don't know much money what you're like, and you know how we roll.
No.
So we need to just jump.
It's lucky that there's not a hole burning in the back.
I don't want to be in contact.
And one out of every 4 soldiers in the world is a child. So you can imagine how God never planned that for His children to have all of those children involved in the child soldiers. And it's not just the boys, it's the girls as well. I remember the government, 60 of them, took them down to the beach and executed them all. And then took over the country. Just a couple years later, Charles Taylor came into the country, and he came in to do away with the tribe that I was working with, the Gael tribe. He said, "You must kill every man, woman, or child that belongs to this tribe." And so since they had to use children to fight the army, there weren't enough men. And they thought, well, we can use children, we can just dispose of them. If they die, there's more children, so that's fine. So they come up into our area and started taking our children. As I said, I was working with the tribe that they were trying to kill off, so the government had to take the children to help fight the war against the others. And I saw for the first time children as young as 5 years of age, more than half as young as you. You're Eric, right? Derek, not Eric. And so taking the children as young as 5 and up to shoot and kill in the army. They would give them drugs in the daytime so they could be brave to fight when they were on drugs. At night they gave them alcohol so they could hopefully forget everything they had done during the day. But as the children told me that, they didn't forget. A lot of these children in war and other kinds of exploitation, they have a lot of losses in their lives. But one of the biggest is education, because without education, there's nothing that they can do except to repeat the cycle of violence and poverty and so on. So that's a good field to think about in working with children.